What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, another special Drunk Guy review. And today I'm very excited to check out Onirim from Z-Man Games. This is for 1 to 2 players, ages I'd say about 8, 9, 10 and up. And it'll take you about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And in Onirim, you and potentially another player will be exploring the Omniverse and dreams and it's pretty much an abstract card game where you're going to be trying to get doors open by putting together strings of numbers. What am I talking about? Let's open it up and talk about it. But before we do that, I want to mention that this is a Drunk Guy review. I had an email that said somebody told me that I need to drink more in my reviews because they're a little bit better when I do that. So I said, sure, why not do that? So from now on, whenever I review an expansion, I'm going to take a shot with it. Today's shot is Fireball. Let's see, how many... Oh, dear God. There's 7 expansions in this. I don't know if I'm ready. Let's open it up. Let's see how this goes. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Onirim. Now, I first want to talk about the box insert. I don't normally mention this, but it is a very nicely done box insert. It holds everything perfectly, top to bottom component-wise, just fantastic in this game. So we have 2 rule booklets. The first is the Book of Expansions, and the second one is the Book of Rules. I'm not going to go too much into the Book of Expansions. I'll be talking briefly about each of the 7 expansions and the mini expansion, but needless to say, it's a very well-done rule booklet. There are some times from here to there we'd be like, wait, should I be doing this, or should I be doing that, but nothing too major. Onto the actual rules themselves, they are very, very well done. I think they're about 12 pages, double-sided, full color. It'll have you up and running in no time at all, and this is a very simple game. So essentially, in this game, you are going to be trying to get 8 door cards revealed. You're going to be revealing these door cards by putting down what are called location cards. Now, these location cards are going to have 3 different symbols on them. They're going to have moons, they're going to have suns, and then they're going to have keys. Now, the keys are the special ones. They'll give you various different superpowers, which we'll talk about in a second. But in order to get these door cards, what you're going to have to do is you are going to have to put 3 of the same color in a row. So, for instance, if I did a key right here, a sun right here, and a moon right here, I wouldn't get any doors open. However, if I happen to have this formation right here, of a green sun, a green key, and then another green sun, I would then get to look through the pile of cards, get out the green door, and I would be 1/8 of my way there to successfully winning the game. But it's not that easy, and I'll tell you why it's not that easy right now. So when you start off the game, you're going to have 5 cards in front of you. So we'll just deal them out like this. And this would be a very good start for us, because we would already have 3 set out right here that could create a doorway. Now, the important thing to note is that you can never put like symbols next to each other. So you can never have a sun next to another sun. Even if they're different colors, you can never do this. No, naughty, get out of here. So you're going to be having to try and figure out the best way to line up these cards. So I'll just give you through a mock hand so you can see exactly what's going to happen here. The first thing I would do is I'd do this right here, and then boom, I would draw another card. Now, I have got a red key card. Now, I mentioned the red key cards are going to give you, any of the color key cards are going to give you special abilities. And I'll tell you about those special abilities right now. So when you decide that you want to get rid of a key card, you have a couple choices. First, you can either play it down right here as just a regular red card, or you can discard the card. And what that's going to let you do, it's going to let you draw the top 5 cards of this deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you have to discard one of these cards, but we're hoping to see, one of these bad guys right here. These are going to be nightmare cards, and when these come up, they're going to be bad for you. So we'll get there in a second. But first thing you're going to do is you're going to discard one of the 5 cards that you picked, and obviously we're going to get rid of a nightmare card. And then you're going to reorder the top 4 of this stack right here in any way you see fit. So obviously, we're going to put this nightmare down here. We'll deal with him in a minute. And then we're going to put it back in place, and we're going to draw back up to 5 cards. We got another key card. So next, we're going to go ahead and use this green key card right here. We're going to play that just as a regular green card, and that means we are 1 away from getting that green door. So next, we got a red. We got 3 blues down there, which is really good. We're actually getting a really good start right here. And obviously, we're going to play this green card right here. So now we have 3 green cards, which means we are now going to go through the deck and look for a green card, which, luckily enough, it was at the very bottom of the deck. So we put that over to the side there because we have now successfully gotten that door out of the way, and we are 1/8 to winning the game. There's another benefit here, too, because since we had to search for a green card, we are now going to reshuffle the cards, which means that nightmare that was going to come up now is somewhere in the deck. But there are tons of nightmares, so I'm sure we'll get to one in a second. So let's draw another card, and looky there. We have ourselves a nightmare. We'll draw another card to make sure we fill up. So now that we have a nightmare, there's a couple things that are going to happen. First and foremost, we have to deal with this nightmare. And dealing with a nightmare is always going to be a problem. You have a couple ways to get rid of the nightmare cards. If you have a key card in your hand, you can get rid of this key card. You can just discard it and boom, this nightmare would go away. That would obviously be probably what we do at this stage of the game. If you don't have a key card in your hand, you can place one of your gain door cards into the limbo pile. The limbo pile is going to be a pile of cards right here that are eventually going to get shuffled back in the deck. We don't want to have to give this up. No way, Jose. I never do that. I never want to give up these door cards because these are very precious and they are hard to come by, so you never really want to give those up. Another option you have is you can reveal the top 5 cards from the deck and discard all of those cards except for doors and for nightmares and various other dream cards. So let's see what would happen there. We'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would have to get rid of all 5 of these cards, which would be terrible in this situation. Now, normally we would not know this information because you just wouldn't know. We would lose a key, we'd lose 3 reds. This would just be a bad thing to do. And as you can see, getting rid of nightmares is a hard thing to do sometimes. The fourth option and the final option you can do is you can discard your entire hand and draw a new hand of 5 cards. That also is not the sort of thing that you would want to do unless you had a crummy hand, which sometimes you will have a crummy hand. So the obvious solution here is we would use this key, and boom, we would get rid of this nightmare card, and we draw another card to replace it, and then we would move on. So now we'd have to decide where we want to go from here. Do we want to try and unlock a blue door, or do we want to try and unlock a red door? And I think the obvious solution here is that we probably go with the red one. We'll try the red one right there. So we draw another card, and that is perfect. So we get to play that one, then we get to play this one, and then we get to search for another red card in the deck, and boom shakalaka, we would be 25% of our way to winning the game. But anywho, you are going to continue to do this. You're going to continue to go through the deck, deal with nightmares, use keys to search through the pile, and attempt to get all 8 of the doors. If you can get all 8 of these doors out there in the 4 different colors, which are white, green, blue, and red, if you can get all 8 of those doors out there, then you are going to be the winner of Onirim. And that is how the game is played. But that, of course, is not all, because we have all of these expansions staring us in the face. And that's also why I'm not getting too in-depth on the gameplay, because the gameplay is pretty simple itself. I'm also going to give you a real quick summarize of all 7 of these expansions. It might be a little bit jump-cutty, but that's the best way to do something like this. So let's get down to the first one. The Book of Steps Lost and Found. Now this one is going to come with 9 cards pretty much. And these 8 of these cards are just going to be cards that you're going to start randomly mix up at the beginning of the game, and then you're going to deal them out in front of you. So now, as you saw before, you could go red or blue or green or white whenever you wanted to. However, if it were set up like this, you would have to do the white first, and then you would have to get the green door, and then you would have to get the red door, and then the green door, and then the blue door, and then the blue door. You were at the whim of these cards in how you open the doors. But all is not lost, because you're also going to get this spell card right here. This is one of my favorite things in all the expansions, because you're going to be able to take cards from your discard piles, cards that you've got rid of, and get special abilities that you're going to be able to use as many times as you want to use, as many times you want to use on a turn. So the 5-1 right here is going to give you the special ability to remove from the game 5 of your cards from the top of the deck. So we take out 5 from the discard pile. Then you're going to go to the bottom of the deck, and you're going to look at the bottom 5 cards of the deck. You're going to put one of those cards on the top of the deck, and then you're going to put the other 4 on the bottom of the deck. So you're instantly going to be drawing one card that you want, hopefully. Next, if you discard 7 cards from the game, you're going to be able to swap one of these doors with another door. So let's just say you had a bunch of white, and you want to do that. You want to do 6 whites in a row. Well, then you could go like that, and boom, you would do white, white, green, red, so on and so forth. The last one, and one of the more useful ones, especially if you have the card saved up, is called the Powerful Punishment. You're going to get rid of 10 cards in your discard pile, which is a lot of cards, but then at the same time, you are going to be able to just instantly take care of a nightmare, which is really, really nice and really useful if you have the cards. And that is the Book of Steps Lost and Found. Alright, so the next expansion we have is the Glyphs, which is going to come with 8 Glyph cards and 4 door cards, and then a couple more gold cards if you decide to mix and match the different expansions. I'm not going to go into how that works because that would be way too complex, but needless to say, a lot of these will stack on top of each other if you want to play sort of a mega Onirim game. So this one's going to come with what are called Glyph cards, and these are going to be different location cards that you are going to mix into the deck. They're going to come in the 4 standard colors, which will be green, white, blue, red, and blue. And then in addition, there's going to be 4 additional door cards. And this is pretty straightforward for the most part. You're going to now have to, instead of finding all 8 door cards in this game, you're going to have to find 12 door cards in the game because you're going to have these additional ones right here. But these additional location cards are going to make it a little bit easier to do that. So you can use these as an additional suit, just like you'd use your stars and your suns and your keys and whatnot. So you could just use your glyphs as an additional green card. Or you can discard a green card and do what's called an incantation. That means you're going to look at the bottom 5 cards of your deck. You're going to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you have any doors, if you have at least one door, you're going to be able to instantly reveal that door. So that's awesome. That means you're not going to have to lay down the 3 in order to get that door. If you don't, though, all the cards are just going to go to the bottom of the deck. So it's kind of a little gamble there, deciding if you want to do that or if you don't want to do that. And that is the Glyphs expansion. The next expansion is the Dream Catchers expansion. This is going to come with some lost dreams that are going to go into your deck. And they're going to be somewhat similar to Nightmare cards in the fact that they are dream cards. You're also going to have what are called Dream Catcher cards and then some fail-safe book cards. The fail-safe book cards are just to make the game a little bit easier, so I'm not going to talk too much about those. But in this game, essentially, you're going to have to, instead of when your cards would normally go to limbo, you would normally shuffle them back into your deck. However, when cards go into limbo this time, the dream catchers are actually going to catch them. So they're going to be catching all sorts of different things, like they'll catch the dreams and they'll catch the doors and stuff like that. And in order to win this game, you have to completely get all your doors. So you're going to be trying to get all 8 of your doors, but you also have to catch all 4 of these dreams in the dream catcher. But the catch is, if you have a door on your dream catcher, then you can't win the game. So it's like this tricky way of trying to get the lost dreams onto the dream catcher, but you don't want to get any doors over there, because if you have doors over there, then obviously you can't win the game. It makes it really challenging. But all is not lost, because when you do end up shuffling the deck for one reason or another, because you need to search for a door or something like that, you're able to free one of your dream catchers, which means all the cards that are attached to it will be able to go over there. So obviously, if they have doors or something attached to it, then you can decide to get rid of them. But that, in a nutshell, is the Dream Catchers expansion. The next expansion is the Towers expansion. This was an expansion that was actually on the original Onirim. And what this is going to do is it's going to make the game more difficult, as many of the expansions do, because you're going to have to, in addition to getting your 8 doors, you're actually going to have to get 4 towers next to each other, and they have to be 4 of different colors. But the catch is, just like the normal one, you can't do this because you can't have the like symbols next to each other. So it is going to make it more complex. Also, what's going to happen is if you get nightmares, then your towers are going to potentially get destroyed, which is really bad and can really hurt you. But all is not lost, because your towers are also going to give you special abilities, which will let you look at the top cards on the deck based on how much numbers are on the bottom. So if you get rid of this card, if you decide to discard this because you're like, all right, I'm not going to use this, that's going to let you look at the top 5 cards of the deck. Now, you don't get to discard anything like a key, but you're still going to know what is coming at you, which is always useful in this game. And that is the Towers expansion. So next we have the Happy Dreams and Dark Premonitions expansion. And this one is going to be a little bit different, because you're going to have 4 of these Happy Dreams. Yes, there's actually good stuff in this game. And you're going to have 8 of these Dark Premonitions. At the beginning of the game, you're going to shuffle up these Dark Premonitions and reveal 4 of them. Now, how these work are, when a certain thing happens in the game, a certain negative ability is going to trigger. So for instance, this one, if you finally get your 2 green doors on the table, what's going to happen is you're going to take 1 Nightmare card from the discard pile and put it back into the limbo pile. So essentially, you're going to be putting a Nightmare card back into the deck. This one means if you get both blue cards out on the table, what is going to happen is you're going to take 2 key cards from the deck and discard them. That's terrible. Those key cards are worth their weight in gold. This one is going to make it so that if you have at least 3 door cards on the table, you're going to have to discard your entire hand, the 5 cards in front of you, and then reveal 1 Dark Premonition card and immediately do what it says on it. So this one's going to be a double whammy, so to speak. We'll look at one more of these. So this one is, if at least 1 door card of each color is on the table, take all Happy Dream cards from the deck and discard them. No, that's terrible, because the Happy Dream cards are probably my favorite cards in the entire deck. Well, that's because they're awesome. So the Happy Dream cards are going to give you certain special abilities. So if you were drawing randomly from the deck and you were about to put this one into your hand, you would have a couple different things you can do. First, you can remove one of the face-up Dark Premonition cards from the game without applying effect. Go, get out of here, bye-bye, you're gone, take you out of here. Next, you can, if you decide to not do that one, you can reveal the top 7 cards of the deck, and you may discard as many of them as you want. So if you come across 3 nightmares, you're like, oh yeah, that was awesome. Then you can put the rest back on the top of the deck. The last thing you have an option to do is you can take from the deck 1 card of your choice, then shuffle the deck and put the chosen card on top of it. So essentially, you could use that to get any card you want. If you needed a particular key to open a particular door or a particular card, anything like that that's going to help you, these Happy Dream cards are going to let you do that. And that is the Happy Dreams and Dark Premonitions expansion. The next expansion is the Crossroads and Dead End expansion. It's going to include 6 additional Crossroads cards. These are going to be like location cards, except you can see them as wild cards. They're going to be any symbol of any color. Well, most of them will be. So this one, actually, let me rephrase that. These are going to be suns of any color, and these are going to be moons of any color, and this is going to be a key of any color. So they're not any symbols, pardon my French, but they're going to be any color you want them to be of various different symbols. So those are great. So if they're adding in great stuff, of course they have to add in terrible stuff, because that's how this game works. And these are the 10 Dead End cards. And these cards are just going to sit and clog your hand and make you frustrated. Sorry, these cards have been the bane of my existence. The last 2 times I've played with these cards have ended up screwing me over. So essentially, these are just going to take room of one of the 5 cards in your hand, and there's no way to get rid of them for the most part, except to trigger an escape. An escape is going to be an additional option that you can do during Phase 1, where you can just get rid of all the cards in your hand, yes, all of them, and you can get rid of these cards. So that is going to make it much more difficult. The only perk I do want to mention about that is that if you combine the Steps of the Lost and Found and the Crossroads and Dead Ends, those Dead Ends can help you do various different things throughout the game if you're stacking and playing a little bit of a mega game. But that is the Crossroads and Dead Ends expansion. Alrighty, the final card expansion we have is the Door to the Omniverse, which is going to come with 17 cards, and the main one is the Door to the Omniverse card. Now, this is going to be an additional door that you're going to have to get through in order to win the game. But the key with this door is you can use any color you want, so 3 green, 3 red, 3 blue, so on and so forth, and instead of getting 3 green, you might say, instead of looking for a green door, I'm going to look for the Door to the Omniverse door, so you're just going to have an additional door you need to get. Now, where this gets interesting, and why this is one of my favorite expansions, is you're going to get 16 of these cards here, which are really going to help you out through the game. Yes, I said help. They're actually going to help you. So we'll take a look at a couple of these cards and I'll show you how they work. First one, this is the Harpoon Hunter. Discard the Harpoon Hunter to reveal the top 5 cards of the deck. Discard all Nightmare cards among the revealed cards and put the remaining cards under the deck in the order of you choose. So essentially, if you had a key and a Harpoon Hunter, you could really get rid of quite a few Nightmares if you time it just perfectly. This one right here is the Chromatic Chaos. Change the color of a door. It can be a door you just drew, a door in the deck, or a door in a dream catcher. So essentially that means, like, if you're near the end of the game, you got a lot of red, and you got this card, and you have both red doors, you can say, alright, I'm going to change that red, put it back in the deck, and I'll take out the green or something like that. We'll get 2 more. We got the Squirrel Spies. Look at the top 5 cards of the deck and put them back in the order of your choice. That one is always useful. We'll look at 1 more, and then this is my favorite one, actually. The Repentant Treasure Keeper. Put a card from your hand under the Treasure Keeper, then fill your hand as if you had played or discarded the card. So essentially, it's like you have an additional card out there to play with. So how these work are, when you would normally draw these into your hand, well, first I should start from the beginning, you're actually going to shuffle these up, and you're only going to have 8 in your hand. So you're only going to be playing with 8 of these, only half of the deck, so you never know exactly what you're going to be getting. But when one would normally go into your hand, you have the option. You can either pick that card up and put it in your hand, but at the same time you have to get rid of a card in your hand, or you just immediately discard it. Most of the time, though, you're probably going to want to put it into your hand because they can be very, very useful. But that's the Door to the Omniverse expansion. The last expansion here again, and this is a mini expansion, is the little Incubus. This little dude right here, he is not plastic, he is heavy, he is weighty, he is really, really cool and cold. I do like him a lot. I think he's like clay or stone or something like that. And there's 3 different ways to play with this one. I haven't been going into the different difficulties, but this one really does impact it. The first one is, this was for the easier game modes, is if you have this little guy, once during the game, you just use him and he cancels out the effect of a nightmare card. So that's really, really useful. Now, the one that I like a little bit better if you bump up the difficulty is you're going to be able to give you a new option. So instead of taking your regular options at the beginning of the turn, you can do what's called, what is it called? You may anticipate a nightmare, which means you're going to draw cards from the deck until you draw a location card. You're going to put that location card under this guy right here, and then you are going to resolve the effect of a nightmare, as if you had drawn a nightmare. But why would you want to do that? Well, the thing is, once this guy gets activated and he has a card underneath him, like so, that's going to mean that the next time you draw a nightmare card, you can just utilize this and just say, all right, I'm going to completely ignore this nightmare card. So essentially, this is going to let you take the effect of a nightmare whenever you want to do it, so later in the game, you can kind of cancel out the effect of a nightmare when you don't want to do it. Really unique thing there. There's also a third difficulty tier, but that just means you have to use 2 location cards to put down here instead of 1. And those are the expansions that you are going to be getting. Alrighty then, Onirim from Z-Man Games, one of my final thoughts. Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. Now before we do that, I did forget to mention one little thing that I forgot to show you how the 2-player version of the game works. There's not too much that changes, except you're going to have 3 cards in front of you, and you're actually going to have a community deck in the middle that's going to have 2 cards. So it's nice. It's neat. I actually like the 2-player variant of the game, but I'll get more into that in the pros and the cons. So let's just get this out of the way first. Before I have 7 shots for the 7 expansions of the game. There's also a mini expansion with this little dude, which we talked about, but we'll talk about him last, and we'll just take a drink of our other drink over here when we get to that. This is probably a really bad idea, but luckily we have our Denver Broncos puke trash can ready, filled, of course, with half-eaten bags of chips, and let's get down to the expansion. The first one is the Books of Steps Lost and Found. I like this one an awful lot. This is one of my favorite ones for the special ability. I liked it because you had that special ability where you could get rid of discard cards. I like that an awful lot. Thing is, I did not like the fact that you had to do it in order. I just didn't think that was as much fun. So this is one I'll play with every once in a while, and I normally pair it with something else. But just playing with it regularly, this was one of my least favorite ones in the entire thing. The next one was the Glyphs expansion, and I like the Glyphs expansion as well. I like the Glyphs expansion because it lets you do the incantations, and I thought that was really cool and really neat. How you could put stuff at the bottom, and if you found the doors, it kind of added like this little gambling aspect to the game, and I personally love gambling. So the Glyphs aspect, I definitely enjoyed that one. Big thumbs up, salute. Woo! Alright, the next expansion was the Dreamcatchers expansion, and I was not the biggest fan of this one, but I do know that a lot of people like this one. I just didn't like how it felt a little bit fiddly to me, and then you'd be like, wait, is this supposed to get caught up in the limbo, or what's supposed to happen with here? This was one of those ones that I actually had to get online and read just to figure out exactly what was going on with it. This is definitely one that I don't plan on really playing again, so the Dreamcatchers expansion for me was one that did not hit. Oh. Next expansion was the Towers expansion. This was actually one of the original expansions that was in the base game. So you know it's got to be good, right? Right. I actually really enjoy this one. I like the new addition it has to it, so you can get rid of some, and you always want to be thinking about the different order that your towers are in, because you never know when a nightmare is going to come and destroy one, and then so you want to have it so that you might be able to press 2 of them together, and sometimes you actually want to do that. You want to prepare for the nightmare card so that you're going to be able to just kind of axe one out, and then 2 will come into place. And sometimes you'll be like, man, I really need that nightmare card to come so I can take that middle tower out of the way, and when you finally do get those towers together and then you don't have to start worrying about it anymore, you're like, yes! So I like that. It adds a little bit of different strategy. This is one that I normally always do play with, one that I really liked, and that was the Towers expansion. Next is the Happy Dreams and Dark Premonitions expansion. I like this one an awful lot. Why? Because it actually adds something nice in this game of otherwise just punching you down and beating you down. I love the Happy Dream cards. I also love playing with fire. I love trying to wait for those Happy Dream cards to come out and then debate. All right, do I want to? I can easily get rid of this thing that's going to hurt me. These Dark Premonition cards that are going to hurt me. But at the same time, the idea of looking at the top 7 cards of the deck and getting rid of as many as you want, that's a really appealing option. So it gives you these choices. I like it. I also love it when there's 2 that are going to happen at the exact same time, and then you have to prepare for that, and then you deal with it. And I like that an awful lot. This is one that I normally always play with as well, but only if I'm not looking to play a quick game. If I'm looking to play a quick game, this is one I'm normally not going to add, and that is the Happy Dreams and Dark Premonitions. Thumbs up on that one. The next one is the Crossroads and Dead Ends card. This is one I always play with, period. This is probably my favorite one in the entire game. I love the dead end cards and how they clog up your hand and how annoyingly difficult they are, and then you got that extra option of just escaping. I like that an awful lot. I also love the Crossroads cards with the wild cards that are just like they're those ace in your hand that you never know when you're going to need it. But when you have one, you're like, yeah, I've got this covered because I got this wild card in my hand. And then every once in a while you have to like discard one. You're like, no! So I like those cards an awful lot. That's the Crossroads and Dead End one. Very, very fun expansion. One of my favorites in the entire thing. Blah, blah, blah. Next is the Door to the Omniverse. This is another one of my favorites. Why? Because it adds nice things in this otherwise game of just meanness and terrible nastiness. All 8 of the cards are really cool. They're really useful. They will come in handy at various different points. Even the ones that you're like, why would I possibly use that? There's always a scenario where like, oh, that's when I want to use it. For instance, the Hammerbird comes to my mind. Where I first read the Hammerbird, I was like, why would I possibly want that? And I was like, oh, I see why I'd want that. Because maybe I have just a boatload of stars in my hand, so I can't play something or something like that. So this is one I really enjoy. It's really easy to throw in, which I like about this one as well. You just throw it in there. It's just going to be 9 different cards. I don't like the fact that you have to take out the 8, so that is a little bit annoying. But this is definitely one that I really enjoy. The Door to the Omniverse gets a big thumbs up. Oh, I think how am I a shot behind? I'm 2 shots behind? Oh, dear God. Okay, so we have, how in the world? How did I skip so many? All right, timeout. Alright, apparently I did just forget to take shots at some point. I don't know how this happened, but I've gone through all the different expansions. So let's get into the pros and let's get into the cons. This one's to Bruce. Boo! First on the cons side, the game's only for 1 to 2 players. So if you got a bigger gaming group, this one obviously is not going to be for you. Also, it feels very different playing 1 versus playing 2 players. Another con is the game is exceedingly difficult, which is not going to be for everybody. Some people like easier games. But one great thing about this game is you can just add the modules that are going to make the game easier. For instance, the little dude right here, and the Happy Premonitions, or the Happy Dream cards, whatever the ones are. The ones that give you the special abilities which we talked about last, which were the Door to the Omniverse one. So you can just add the Door to the Omniverse in this one if you're having difficulty, and then add on a harder one. So that con is somewhat mitigated. Last but not least, the theme is completely non-existent. I would say pasted on, and it is. It's pasted on. You replace it with just about anything. The theme's interesting? No, it's not interesting. The theme's dumb. I don't know what it is. You're going through dreams or something like that? Who knows? Oh, God, 2 dream shots left. Moving on to the pros, though. This game, which his name has eluded me, Onirim, is a lot of fun. It's a game I really enjoyed. Now, I don't personally own this. I'm actually just borrowing my friend's copies of this. Thanks, Ronnie. But I really enjoyed this game an awful lot. This is one that is on my to-buy list. It's cheap. It's compact. It's portable. It's quick. It just has tons of replayability, as you can see with all the different expansions. I forgot to mention the final expansion, by the way, which is just this little dude right here. I like that one. I always play with that one. I normally play the medium difficulty, where you have to put 1 card underneath them to activate that. But that's one of my favorite ones as well. Another con is most of the expansions do hit. There are some that you'll play and you'll be like, nope, not playing with that one ever again. And that's going to happen when you have 7 expansions. I mean, it's the same way in other games like Pandemic and so on and so forth. But most of them do hit, and I do enjoy most of them. I also like the fact that you can stack on top of each other. You're not going to have that race for the galaxy issue where you're like, oh, you can't do this with that because those 2 won't work, they won't do that. I don't know who talks like that. So that is not going to be a con of this game. So overall, Onirim is a really fun game. I enjoyed it an awful lot. It's one of my new favorite solo games, and when I eventually do own it, I can actually see it usurping Friday as my favorite go-to light solo game. So that is Onirim from Z-Man Games and from Shoddy Torban. So, if you enjoy this content, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below. And also, in the comments below, let me know, am I a chicken for having 2 more shots left? I took 5 during this review, and it took me like 30 minutes to shoot this thing. So it took 5 shots in 30 minutes. You know what? That's not a very good average. We'll do one more. We'll do one more shot, and then we're going to call it a night. And that is the Denver Broncos shot, because go Broncos. God bless America, go Broncos. This might not be the best shot right here. But let me know in the comments below, what should we talk about this war? Mage Wars. What's your favorite card in Mage Wars? For me personally, it's the Lair. I love just spawning beast upon beast upon beast on different people. And what am I talking about? I don't know if my stomach's going to do this one. Oh, you got that burp going. But as always, thanks for your time, YouTube. This is Bauer's Game Corner. Bauer's Game Corner, we like to drink. So this 7th shot needs to be drank. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now, and hopefully I'm not going to throw up. So let's power through this, and there's a box. Ooh, where is something to throw up in? Pause this. Alright, puke can initiated. That one's for you, Fox. Thanks for your time, YouTube. Woo!